set in 18th century rural England, tells the story of an unnamed highwayman who is in love with Bess, a landlord's daughter. Betrayed by the authorities, the highwayman escapes ambush when Bess sacrifices her life to warn him. This poem is Highwayman by Alfred Noyes. The wind was torrent of darkness among the gusty trees. The moon was a ghostly gallon tossed upon cloudy trees. The road was a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, and the highway came riding, riding and riding. The highwayman came riding up to the old inn door. He had a French cocked hat on his forehead, a bunch of lace at his chin, a coat of the claret velvet, and breeches of brown doe skin. They fitted with never a wrinkle, his boots were up to the thigh, and he rode with a jeweled twinkle, his pistol butts a twinkle. His rapier hid a twinkle under the jeweled sky. Over the cobbles and glattered and clashed in the dark inn yard, and he tapped with his whip on the shutters, but all was locked and barreled. He whistled a tune in the window, and who should be waiting there but the landlord's black-eyed daughter, Bess, the landlord's daughter, plaiting a dark red love note to her black long hair. And dark in the dark old inn yard a stable wicket creaked, where Tim the ostler listened. His face was white and peaked. His eyes were hollows of madness, his hair is like a moldy hay. But he loved the landlord's daughter, the landlord's red-lipped daughter. Dumb as a dog he listened, and he heard the robber say, "One kiss, my bony sweetheart, I'm after a prize tonight, but I'll shine me back with the yellow gold before the morning light. Yet if they press me sharply and harry me through the day, they look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, through the hell should bar the way." He rose upright in the stirrups, he scarce could reach her hand, but she loosened her hair. Thy casement, his face burnt like a brand, and the black cascade of perfume came tumbling over his breast. And he kissed its waves in the moonlight, oh sweet black waves in the moonlight. Then he tugged at his rein in the moonlight, he galloped away to the west. He did not come in the dawning, he did not come at noon, and oh tawny of sunset before the rise of the moon, when the road was a grippy's ribbon, looping the purple moor, and the red-coat troop came marching, marching, marching. King George's men came marching up to the old inn door. They said no word to the landlord, they drank his ale instead, but they gagged his daughter and bound her to the foot of the narrow bed. Two of them knelt at her casement with muskets at their side. There was death at every window, and hell at one dark window, and hell at one dark window. For Bess could see, through her casement, the road he would die. They had tied her up to the attention with many a sniggering jest. They had bound a musket beside her, with the barrel beneath her breast. "Now keep a good watch," they kissed her. She heard the dead man say, "Look for me by moonlight, watch for me by moonlight. I'll come to thee by moonlight, through hell should bar the way." She twisted her hands behind her, but all the knots held good. She writhed her hands till her fingers were wet with sweat or blood. They stretched and strained in the darkness, and the hours crawled by like years, till now, on the stroke of midnight, cold on the stroke of midnight, the tip of one finger touched it. The trigger at least was hers. The tip of one finger touched it. She drove no more for the rest. Up she stood up to the attention with the barrel beneath her breast. She would not risk the herrings, she would not strive again, for the road lay bare in the moonlight. Blank and bare in the moonlight, and the blood of her veins in the moonlight, throbbing to her love's refrain. Clot, tot, clot, clot, they heard. The hoarse roofing ringing clear. In the distance were the deaf that they did not hear. Down the ribbon of moonlight, over the brow of the hill, the highwayman came riding, riding, riding. The redcoats looking up at the priming, as she stood up, straight and still. In the frosty silence, tlot, tlot in the echoing night, nearer he came, Her face was like a light. Her eyes grew wide for the moment. She drew one last deep breath. Then her fingers moved in the moonlight. Her musket shattered in the moonlight, shattered her breast in the moonlight, and warned him within her death. He turned spurred to the west. He did not know who stood, bowed with her head, or the muskrat, trenched in her own red blood. Not till the dawn of heard it, his face grew graze to hers. How Bess, the landlord's daughter, the landlord's black-eyed daughter, had watched her love in the moonlight and died in the darkness there. Back, he spurred like a madman, shrieking a curse to the sky, with the white road smoking behind him and his rapier high. Blood red were in the spurs of the golden noon, wine red was his velvet coat. When they shot him down to the highway, down like a dog in the highway, and he lay his blood on the highway with a bunch of lace at his throat. And still on a winter's night, they say, when the wind in his trees, when the moon is a ghostly gallant tossed upon cloudy seas, when the road is a ribbon of moonlight over the purple moor, a highwayman came riding. A highwayman came riding up on the old inn door. Over the cobbles and clatters and clangs in the dark inn yard, he taps with his whip on the shutters, but all is locked and barred. His whistle's attuned in the window and should be waiting there. But the black landlord's daughter, Bess the landlord's daughter, plighting a dark red love note in her long black hair.